welcome to episode 5 of the Mechabellum Engine Room Chat. I'm your host, Stoney. And today, this is kind of a very significant Engine Room Chat because we'll be discussing the very recent 1.3 patch. It is, in my opinion, one of the most significant patches in a very long time. And I'm very honored to have the game's lead, Bearlike, with us today, and he will be answering many questions from not just me, but also the community at large about the recent patch. Now, before I jump into the main event of today's Engine Room Chat, I just want to give you a few quick updates on what's been happening in the last 2 weeks in Mechabellum. So the first thing I want to mention is that the Mag 1 Season 2 tournament has officially concluded as of yesterday. So congratulations to Flower Fairy for taking the championship title in a very swift 4-0 against Nsako. So 201 is going to take the title this time. In Season 1, it was Sako that won at the end. So now we have this 501-201 rivalry that's going on. Season 3 will be starting next Saturday, so I think Yes Win Big will be making some announcements in the coming week about the roster and the format for the next season. The next thing is the tournament, the free-for-all tournament that we hosted last weekend is also concluded, so I want to congratulate Hackmanic for taking the championship title for that one. It was very fun to watch. I'm not a FFA player, so I get to see a lot of strategies that I had no idea about. And for those of you that are curious, apparently the tarantula with anti-air, lots of fans, and lots of hackers is the combination to go to if you want to win your FFA, because that's what Hackmanic did for all of his games in the final rounds, and he won every single one of those. So AA tarantulas, shielded fans, and lots of hackers. It makes no sense to me as a 1v1 player, but hey, if it works, it works. So try it out. I think the strategy essentially goes, you will survive all the way to about round 6 and 7, and you take the lead in those 2 rounds. And hopefully by then your hackers will be around level 4, so you can hack the experimental unit and use the experimental units to win the game. So give it a try if you're an FFA player. It was a lot of fun. And congratulations again to Hackmanic. All right, so without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the game lead and the visionary behind Mechabellum, Bearlike. Welcome to the show. Now, in Mechabellum, there's a couple naming schemes, right? So there's naming after, I think there's a lot of insects names. And then there's a lot of names that uses like mythical creatures like the Vulcan and the Raiden. And then now we have the name for the Hound. Now, what is the story behind using Hound for the name, or just the concept of this being a 4-legged dog-looking unit? Like, what's the idea behind that?
Actually, originally it was not clear to us that it should be a Hound, but because it's a chaff clearing unit, so our artists are just prototyping of different AoE damage mechanic. Then we think that maybe shotguns, everybody likes shotguns, so this unit is gonna have shotguns, but because chaff, so and because it is a chaff, so the shotgun became its whole body. And one of our artists just think, well, everybody likes dogs. He personally probably likes cat better, but he think this time it's a time for the dog to shine. So he made it a dog. He made it a dog, and yeah, that's the story behind it.
I thought it was influenced. I thought it was influenced by what was happening in the community. I think back 8 months ago, I mean, we have lots of dog players. Um,
Yeah.
right? We got Poochie, we got Dachshund, we got Odyssey, which has got like a dog image there. Um, Probably can think of one more, but not at the moment. As far as cats goes, the only cat I know is Steel Sing. So that's what I was thinking. I
Yeah.
was like, there's a lot of dogs at the higher echelon of Mechabellum at the time.
Yeah, we're just going through all the favorite new animals: dog, horse, cat, all that stuff.
So when is the bear coming out?
Well, maybe a rhino skin, probably. I'm
Maybe a
not sure.
rhino skin?
Maybe a rhino. Yeah, maybe a bear as a rhino skin. I'm not sure. Well, you never know. We are adding tons of new stuff into the game. Someday,
Speaking,
maybe a bear makes sense.
bear definitely makes sense. I mean, just think of the meme potentials. Think of all the interesting videos that players will would do with that unit, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Speaking of skin, I think there was some talk in the community about coming up with skin that's more than just a um like a color change, but instead of adding certain uh physical elements onto the unit. So for example, if you have like a Christmas themed skin, you have like the Christmas hats. Is there something that you're thinking about in the future for skins?
We are making some new skins. Some of them are very different from the previous skins. Uh, so we have been making skins for a while, but they are just not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we are making skins that looks completely different from the other skins, and also have unique unique uh, FX and all that stuff. We are making those, but they're not ready yet.
Cool. We're very excited to something to look forward to. Now, one thing about the Hound, or one unique aspect of the Hound, is that this is the only unit right now that has any sort of environmental interactions. So it removes fire, it removes acid. Now that we have a unit in this game, do you foresee this type of technology to be implemented in other units in the future? Can you give us a little sneak
Uh,
peek?
yeah, right now actually we don't have a unit that have like a ground effect planned. But we have always think that environmental interaction is cool. The fires, audio stuff, and all that stuff. There's two games come to mind. One is Breath of Wild, the Zelda game, and the other is Divinite Original Sin.
Mm,
Uh, it also
Divinity?
also have like very awesome environment interactions. So we have been studying all that stuff for a while, but because we are still adding lots of new uh, stuff into the game, we haven't get around to like do an environmental interaction overhaul. So basically, like maybe Raiden should electrify the acid or something, uh, and smoke should extinguish fire, all that different stuff. We haven't decided what we should do, but it is interesting, and we are looking into it.
Hmm. I mean, it does add another layer of complexity, which is a good kind of complexity. I think I'm a big fan of Divinity Original Sin. I think like just the way
Yeah,
that they use. I like one of the my favorite is just put water everywhere and then light it up with electricity. I think that was just the coolest thing. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to hear that this is something that you're thinking about. Um, one of the technologies didn't make the cut for the Hound, and that is the light unit targeting. Why is that?
Yeah.
And first of all, what it is, and why is that?
The light unit targeting tech was originally a tech for the Hound, and the tech basically make Hound uh, attack light unit, low HP unit first. The thing with it is we do have this mechanic that you need to kill your current target before you attack other target. So once if the Hound locks onto a Rhino, even with this tech, it will not attack other light unit. And we don't really want to change this mechanic to make a Hound always switching target attacking light unit. Yet we are still experimenting about this mechanic. So at the launch of the 1.3 patch, I think we are not ready we haven't tweaked the tech to the to where we want it to be. So that's why we removed it. We are still doing some experiment with it, but for now, I think yeah, I don't think the tech will come back very soon. It may come back in the future, but we need to do some more work on it before it can come back.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about the next big group of updates, which is the free unit unlocks. I remember the last time when we spoke on the engine with Chad, you mentioned there was some balance issues specifically surrounding the starting units. Is the free unit unlocking one of the solutions to that problem?
Kind of, yes. Basically, we want more options for players at the early stage of the game. It was so. I guess this do helps with starting units balance. But the original goal was just offer more options to players, so the early round feels more exciting and player feels more in control.
Okay, so now that this is out, and I remember in a patch note, you mentioned that this is you realize this may disrupt some of the balances in the game. Now that you've played a few of the games with the free unlock, how do you feel personally? Is this very disruptive, or is this actually doing a lot of good because now you to see more strategy variety? How do you feel about that?
Well, the change actually surprisingly balanced. So it's like actually didn't have much bad side effect. It's like surprisingly not disruptive to the game. So we have always anticipated that there will be benefits, and the benefits actually are pretty big. And in the meantime, there are actually not that much downside with this change, which is surprising. As we thought that we need to do a lot of balance around this, but from what I can say now and from the tournaments and all that stuff, it actually the change actually didn't break the balance of the game too much. They're still gonna need some. We're still gonna tweak the balance a little bit, but well, this change actually surprisingly very good for the game with without much downside.
Good. Yeah. I mean, personally, I like it. I finally get to run starting pack with Mustangs, and I get to get steel balls in the very first turn. So it's kind of OP sometimes if I want to just do a troll move on the side. So yeah. Now, speaking of unlock, there are a few units that were excluded from this free unlock. namely the Rhinos, the Hackers, and the air units. Any particular reason why?
Yeah. So originally, every unit do not have an unlock cost. We introduced the unlock cost with two purposes. One is make the game more predictable, and to make make the game make player feels there is a tech progression in the game. So you cannot certain unit is later round unit. Not every unit is an early round unit. So that was the original goal for unlock cost. And over time, with a lot of other addition into the game, we gradually feeling that the early round became too predictable. So that's why we want to remove some unlock cost of some units, so make it a little bit unpredictable. So there's a balance. You cannot make it totally unpredictable. If it is totally unpredictable, then there will be no strategy. It just became a rock scissor paper game. But if it became too predictable, then the variety of early rounds strategy become too small. So that's why when we and also the game evolved over the time. So at this stage, we think that removing the unlock cost is a better option here. But with that being said, we don't like that player can just make air unit on round one without any downside, or even make a giant unit on round one, all that stuff. That's why we kept the unlock cost of air unit and giant unit. And for Rhino and Hacker, those two units are very oppressive unit. A lot of player actually feels oppressive when they play against those two units. That's why those two units are not getting a unlock cost reduction. But also those two units are getting a rework. So that's why we are not reducing the unlock cost of those two.
Okay. Speaking of rework, are you referring to the stuff that's already changing for them during this patch, or they're still being reworked in the future?
Can you say it again?
Yeah, so you mentioned that the Rhino and the Hacker are getting reworked.
Yeah.
So I noticed
Yeah.
there's some changes to them already in this patch, but
Mhm.
that's not what you're referring to, right? You're talking about something that
Yeah.
you're still working on.
Yeah. Those two units need a complete rework. It's not the small balance change will not be enough. They need multiple new tech and maybe price change. For example, Hacker may need to be a 300 unit, and also the attack pattern may need to be changed. So yeah, there's a lot of change needed to be done to those two units before we can make those two popular. But historically, when those two units became popular, lots of players became very upset. So
I don't know. I'm a Hacker player. I think the Hacker is fine. I mean, I'm not. I personally I am not happy with the current balance update with the Hacker because the barrier cost was just too high. Like I think before the patch, the barrier was about 66 HP per supply spent. But now with the decrease in HP for the barrier and the increase in price, is now down to 40 HP per supply spent. So that's about a 40% drop in their, I
yeah,
guess, cost efficiency. So I'm not very happy, but I still run Hacker because it's such a fun unit and it triggers a lot of people. Not that I do that on purpose, but I just like to use Hacker because everybody kept putting steel balls and tarantulas in my face. So tell us more about Hacker, like because I know you also like Hacker. So I'm
yeah.
just curious, like what is the general direction that you're, aside from just making a bigger unit?
Yeah, we think we need to make the counter to hacker more obvious. Right now, player don't think, especially lower MMR player, do not understand what actually counters hacker. For example, lots of player tries to build high HP unit against hackers. So hacker will be like he wants like hacker take it longer for hacker to hack the unit. That's the common solution to the hacker problem, which actually is the opposite of countering hacker. Basically, if you want to counter the hacker, you need either shield or like a lot of chaff, and high damage unit actually counters hacker, and the high HP unit actually is pretty weak against hacker. But this is not obvious to new players and to low MMR players. That's why hacker became a problem, because it cannot be countered easily. So we need to make the hacker's weakness bigger and more obvious. Then we can consider like make hacker be a more important role in the whole unit roster. Right now, it's just it's too hard for new players to understand how to counter hacker.
Oh yeah, I mean, air is always a good way to do it. I mean,
Yeah,
in chat here, Kapaz says raiding is a hacker counter, and I agree.
yeah.
So back to the free unit unlocks topics. Now that units are free to unlock, does this affect or weaken certain specialists? For example, Sabretooth specialist comes to mind. Now that Sabretooth specialist is essentially just here's 200 supply for you at round 2. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's definitely weakened some specialists. We will do a rebalance of that, and we're already thinking about changing the Sabertooth specialist. So this will be a good opportunity for us to change the Sabertooth specialist and also Fire Badger and specialist. Yes.
Nice. Now let's talk about the FFA changes. We were just talking about it earlier when we were playing out 2v2. What is the idea behind unit drop alongside card drops?
The idea behind the FFA change, yeah. So for the FFA change, the FFA mode, when you place it a lot, there's not enough build variety in it in the previous version. So we want to give player more opportunity to shifting to other build mid game. That's why we want to offer more unit drop to players, and we understand that players are sometimes you don't have the unit you want in the unit drop. So that's why we give player to sell button in FFA to help player to sell the unit they don't really want, and to shift it to the build they really want to do. So basically, this actually makes the game more like traditional auto battler like TFTs and Dota auto chess. So it's like you need to play with the hand that dealt to you. Generally, we think that the 1v1 is where the game is more serious, and 4-player brawl is where we would like it to be somehow more like a party game. That's why the change to yeah, I guess we talk the first place bounty yeah, later question. So basically the all the unit drop we offered is just we want to give player more opportunity to shift their build to something else during the game.
Now, speaking of the first place bounty price. I watched a few games, and my takeaway from that is it gives, let's say we have player one here, and then player two is right beside player one, and they're kind of equally matched. If the first player gets bountied, then the player two will get snowballed pretty hard in the next couple of rounds. I've seen games where that player in a single round gets like 1,200 supplies. Do you think, while this is a fun mechanic and this is a good way, it's a comeback mechanic essentially is what it is, right? You get your player one who's in the lead, and now your next neighbor, usually the next neighbor, can reap the benefit and becoming player one itself, and then it's like hot potatoes, and then everybody try to take that one. But do you think this is something that players can abuse? For example, if I'm in the second place, can I still reap the benefit of player one by destroying his army, get a lot of money, but intentionally lose to like the player across from me, so that I don't become the first place? I'm just, coming up with some ideas.
Yeah, I guess I don't consider this be abuse. Like, I think this is playing the game. If you manage to do that, then well, you have
It's a
mastered the
skill.
strategy here.
It's the
Yeah, I
skill.
think it's a skill. Yeah, I think it's a skill. Uh, that's actually part of the fun of the FFA mode, that you'll need to consider different mechanic. Not always building the strongest army is the answer. Sometimes you want to appear a little bit weaker and all that stuff, so you can come on top at the end. So that's why we generally thinking FFA as a party game. So that's why I think there's, so if you are playing this kind of 4D chess social engineering stuff, I think that's actually you are playing the FFA. So yeah.
Nice. And it's like a completely different game, because just the other day I had a FFA game where my neighbor had a single war factory for the first 7 rounds, and that's it. Like he put one war factory on one corner, and then on the other corner he put a squad of crawlers that mobile beacons into my board every single turn. So I have to fight 2 waves of AI, and then
Yeah.
at round 8 he drops like 3 more war factories, and at round 9 drops 3 more war factories after that, and it just rolls everybody over. And I feel like this sort of play style could benefit a lot from the bounty system, because now he would just come to my board. So like you said, it is a bit of a 4D chess. It is not just a straightforward Mechabellum game, and it could be very interesting.
Yeah.
I got, there's a couple small changes. So we had a additional inefficient recovery that's now being added to research centers, which means you can now do 2 unit cells per turn. And then the redeployment is also being given out for free. And of course, there are some changes with the boss unit being starting off on the center of the map. What are some of the reasons behind these changes?
Yeah, the change to the boss unit is that a lot of players feeling very oppressive when they are the leading player and the boss just on their face and eliminating all their forces. So that's why we want to make the boss start in the middle. But if by this change, actually, it makes the boss was originally a comeback mechanic that where we hold the number one player at a disadvantage and give other players a chance to catch up. So because we remove the boss from round 7 to round 10 and change the round 3 and round 6 boss, the number one player will may snowball quite easily. That's why we add the bounty to the leading player. So other player will get extra supplies by defeating the leading player and gets a chance to catch up. Right now, I think the balance here is still a little bit off. We are thinking maybe we should add balls to round 7 to round 9. Just only remove the round 10 boss. So round 7 and round 9, there's still boss, but weaker boss starting from the center. This together with the bounty on the number 1 player probably will be more balanced.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Another
Yeah.
another thing about FFA is I wonder if there's any plans on improving the spectator view of the FFA itself. Specifically, right now with FFA as a caster, at the beginning of the rounds, it's impossible to see what is being offered in general, so until somebody chooses a card, and then we're like, oh yeah, that's being offered. I wonder if there could be something like a 2-screen flip. So on screen 1 is what we see right now, but on screen 2 we see the 4 options for the cards and then the 4 options for the units. So is that something that you're considering in the future?
Yeah. We are. It's not something we are actively working on right now, but we do want to improve the spectating experience of the FFA and showing what kind of card is offered. I think that's a good idea. We definitely gonna implement that when we got the time. But right now we are still focusing on other features, especially for FFA. We want to make additional change based on the feedback we got in the past few days. For example, we are considering adding a what was the word? Forfeiting button. Basically, you do not choose
Forfeiting.
any.
Okay.
Yeah, basically do not choose any unit job in the FFA, and you still got some supplies from that. So like maybe still got 300 something. It's not gonna be as much as the overall value of all the units, but it just will give you some supplies, so you are not forced to pick the unit if you don't like either. All 4 units are packed. You don't like them, you can choose to forfeit and get some supply back. That is something we are considering, and there are other like boss unit change and other stuff we are considering. So we want to make the FFA play experience better first, then we will move on to make the caster experience better.
Okay. The FFA mode is starting to feel like a very different experience from the 1v1 with all these changes, right? I feel like there will be some players who are just dedicated FFA players, and then there are some players who are more dedicated on the competitive 1v1 or even 2v2 in the future. Speaking of the 2v2 tournament, I don't have a real question. I just, today is the first day we're going to have tournament. So I'm sure the community will have some comments and feedback after this day is over. How do you feel about this? I know you work very hard at bringing the 2v2 tournament to the forefront. What are some of your expectations for this mode in the future?
Yeah, I want to, with the 2v2 tournament, I hope this actually make the 2v2 mode more popular. I personally actually likes 2v2 more than 1v1. I think there's lots of variety and changes can happen during a 2v2 games. So for me, 2v2 games have always been more exciting. But without a tournament, there's not a great ground for 2v2 players to show off their skills. So I hope this new 2v2 tournament will give the 2v2 players that chance, and also make some players give some players a reason to play more 2v2 games. and to understand the fun of 2v2s.
That's fantastic. Yesterday when I was watching I think it was the European tournament, there was a game where Rooster was going up against the Arbiter, and Arbiter ended up going Fort Fan on him, and ended up being very triggered. With the Fort Fan, I mean, it's been in the meta for the last couple of weeks. It's been essentially taking over the meta in the last couple of weeks at the highest MMRs. I know there recently has just been a nerf to the Fortress, but I still feel like this is very strong. I'm not going to push on just the balancing, or I do want to share an idea that came up during the chat on Rooster's stream yesterday, which I thought was interesting. Essentially, it was the idea of making a selection on mutually exclusive technologies. So things like Fort Fan, maybe the idea is you can choose fan production or Fort Barrier, but you cannot have both, because when you have both, then it becomes very strong. But if you just have one or the other, it might be okay. I just wonder what are your thoughts on this idea?
I don't think the idea is cool. We actually have this idea before, but it's not for shield, for shield and for the fan production. I think using this idea on that front don't really make much sense, and it's gonna be very tricky for new players to understand the mechanic. But the one thing we have been considering is, like, for example, we want the Vulcan to be able to shoot out either acid or ice. Then if Vulcan have if there's ice tag for Vulcan, then the ignite do not make sense for Vulcan. So if there's some tag that completely changes the attack pattern of certain unit, then it can be in conflict with other tag. So that's where we consider maybe some tag will be should include other tag, because it completely changed the attack pattern, all that stuff. For balance reason, I think we should balance the game without this mechanic. For fan production, basically make it weaker probably is the answer. To introduce a new mechanic just to make fan production not attackable with Fortress Shield probably shouldn't be the way to go there. And also, I want to explain a little bit about the fan production. I think I have seen Rooster's stream, and I think lots of people are thinking, why is fan production so strong? Why is Fortress can produce so many fans? The game have always been gradually shifting from one meta to another. Comparing to the crawler production mounting point, you will see like fan production Fortress will produce a lot of more value there. But that is only in the reason, only in the case because of we nerfed mounting point a lot and we nerfed Stormcaller a lot. Back when Stormcaller was dominating, Stormcaller's missile will not miss the fan on the side of the fortress, but it will definitely miss the crawlers that are moving very fast. So that, and also there's lots of other stuff like the overload, all that stuff. They will definitely hit both the fan and the fortress at the same time. That's why before time the fortress production, the fan production on fortress actually is pretty weak, and it has been weak for for a very long time. That's why we have we didn't nerf it. But with the nerf to mounting point and the nerf to Stormcaller, also the change of the overload all that stuff, all the different stuff. It actually make the Fortress fan production more viable. That's why sometimes this tag feels too strong. A lot of time we see this a lot. The player base basically when there's a balance problem, especially when you are when you lost game because of this, you will think there's some fundamental problem of certain unit, certain tag, or certain something. But this always changes when you just like nerf 50% damage, or sometimes 3% damage is enough. Then suddenly there's no fundamental problem to that tag or that unit. So I'm not saying it's always the case, but for like 99% of time, it's always you lower some stats, then suddenly it's not a fundamental problem. Sometimes we found unit or tag that like really hard to balance. For example, the light targeting tag on Hound, we have to remove it. But for example, the item where the EMP item, that's really hard to balance. But for fan production, I guess we will say if the data suggests that the fan production is still super strong. If it is the case, we will nerf it again, and I guess we have a very good chance just solve the problem by nerfing the production ability. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for such a comprehensive answer. I do want to rewind back to what you said earlier about Vulcans. Did you say that Vulcan would shoot ice?
Yeah, we have been experimenting all that stuff, but the thing with it is just there's a lot of fire related tag on Vulcan. If it shoot ice, then what happened to the ignite? What happened to all that stuff? And would his firebomb interact with his ice power, all that stuff? So it was a fun concept when we like experiment with it, but there's a lot of problem. So we are not sure what should we do. Should we add like a dry unit? It's just Vulcan but shoot fire, shoot ice or something like that. Should we add the add a tag that actually excluding other tag? We are not sure about it. So that's why we like not releasing the IC4 Vulcan anytime soon. Yeah.
Nice. I did have one more question, but I forgot to write it on this question sheet. So right now we already have 3 out of the 4 units that were teased at the very beginning of Mechabellum official launch, right? So we got the Hound, we got the Raiden, we got the Rays, the Phantom Rays. And then there's that one last unit that looks like a giant brain that's floating in the air. And I'm just wondering, what is the timeline for that unit?
That's Series 3, April. April, that unit gonna come. For Series 3, there's 2 units. One is that giant head. One is that giant head, and the other is the new chaff unit, new 100 chaff unit. Those are the 2 units for Season 3. After that, after Season 3, I think the base roster probably gonna be basically fulfilled, and we will add some more wacky for fun unit to the game. So yeah.
Nice. All right, I got a few community questions that I've collected, and some of them are really good. So the first question I have is, are there humans inside my mechs? How many lives am I responsible for here? Are the cockpits decorative or not? What do you think?
Yeah, some like have humans in it. Some like crawler don't really have a human in it. So there's I guess we need to release some law documents there
Ooh.
to explain. Before that, I just imagine a way, and also everybody get revived at the end of the round. So don't feel too bad about killing hundreds of people.
All right, so to those of you that are watching, this is not canon. It is up to your imagination until the official lore is rolled out. Another player asked, do the devs have any plans for map variety? So specifically human. Right now the map is just a flat surface. It's just a big board. Uh, will there be environmental elements, for example, obstacles or choke points or certain ground that are slowing units down? For example, there's like this beautiful 2v2 map with the river flowing through the center of the map. So if you're walking through the river, you're walking a little bit slower than the rest. Would that be something that you might be considering in the future?
We have always considered those kind of features in the game, but we haven't figured out how to add them to the game. So it's because you cannot command your unit during the battle phase. They are all acting by their own. So like things like high ground, it's like you cannot make your units stay on that high ground. All that stuff. We have always been experimenting with all kind of terrain features, but well, it's have been 7 years. We haven't figured out it yet, so I cannot promise you will figure it out in the future. But it's always something we are always considering. Yeah.
Okay. What about a variation to that question? So I know it is an auto battler, you don't control how the unit moves. What if there are more environmental abilities? So oil is an environmental ability. It is an intentional uh, technology. What about things like, I don't know, barricade? Because you were talking about using the raiding and the lightning, so I'm going to assume maybe something like a water. Are you thinking of expanding some of these ability that changes the battlefield?
Wait, I guess there's shield and oil, all that stuff. We have been thinking about some ability like teleportation, where and you can teleport some of your unit to somewhere else. And the barricade one is basically like a shield, but I guess stronger. All that stuff. We have been considering those, but right now I don't think the pathfinding is working well enough for those kind of stuff. But we are improving on that side. So once those improving work done, we can like experimenting more on the barricade stuff.
Mm-hmm. Um, One of the player asked, will we have more economy-based specialists? So right now, for many, I will say the majority of the specialists has a tie with a certain unit, which means the real economy specialists, we have quick supply, and then we have supply, and then we have cost control.
Yeah.
Is there more economies for players that likes to play really long games, that like to play very defensively?
Um, I don't have something in my head right now, but I would love to add more econ specialists into the game. I'm not sure what should I add more. Well, if you have a good idea, please tell me. But right now, I'm not sure. I would like to add some econ specialists into the game. But right now, I don't have a good idea here.
You can have a specialist which is going to call it the bureaucrat, and what it does is it uses this magical bureaucratic powers so that every time you purchase something from a tower like a mobile beacon or a unit selling is free because of the bureaucratic powers. So it's the bureaucrat. Free unlocks for tower certain tower items.
Okay. Okay, when you are saying bureaucrat, I thought he just embezzles your money. That's yeah. Yeah. Buying something free. Yeah, sure. Having a discount, I guess, if that's what bureaucrat doing to the economy. Yeah. Um, it's gonna be pretty hard to balance that, but I think yeah, may uh specialists that make certain option cheaper or more expensive. I think that's fun. Maybe some spy unit make the other player pay more for whatever stuff.
Mhm. Or
Sorry, I'm sorry. My wife just came in. I need to answer him.
yep.
Oh,
All right. Well,
okay.
well,
Sorry about that.
yes. Okay. Um,
Okay.
Another idea might be, for FFA, earlier you talked about you're thinking of a skip button when there are
Yeah.
unit drops. So maybe
Yeah.
that could be instead of giving that to everybody in 1v1, you can have a certain specialist. We call it, I don't know, we'll come up with the name, and that specialist has the ability to skip unit drops while all the other players have to play with the unit drops. So
Yeah.
just
Sure.
throwing some ideas.
Yeah. 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 Sure.
Okay, so I got the next question from Zenith606. Speaking of Zenith606, he was the guy on Reddit that used to summarize the past engine room chats, and I think Mortis did one as well. So thank you very much. And he asked, the new units are awesome, but he is a little worried that the barrier to entry for new players gets higher with each one because now there's so many choices for new players to learn when they first started playing the game. And he wondered, will there ever be a standard rotation of units? So similar to TCG, like Magic. So if not, if there are any plans to make it easier for new players to figure out all of the dozens of units.
Yeah. Our original plan is once we get enough unit, we rotate them and make some unit rare unit to make different unit to be the rare units each season. That's the original plan, but as the time goes on, we actually find that every unit we add right now actually carry a crucial role. So even like Farseer, we are thinking like I think we think Farseer is also have a unique role in the game. We want to make it a standard unit, not a rare unit. So so at this point, we are running out of unit. We think that can be a rare unit because we think every unit when we added it into the game, it provide something unique to the player, and so give player more options during the game. So, but after season 3, maybe after season 3, there's some more for fun unit be adding into the game. Maybe after season 3, we can consider rotating units. But for now, the current roster, I don't really want to make any of them to be a rare unit. Even Rhino, I think Rhino still has values sometimes, and yeah, I think more option right now. More option still is a better approach to balancing the game. But I do worry about the new player experience because there's so many options. A new player came into Mechabellum. It's very, very daunting to them. There's so many options, different strats, and when you play against someone, there's a timer, and it takes you are reading what is this, what is that. It's like it's not that fun for a new player. I guess it's fun, but it's like fun and scary at the same time. So we are considering some better tutorials and better PvE experience for the new player, so they have a chance to familiar with the game at their own pace. Yeah.
Awesome. We had a question from chat from Dai, and he asked, "Does Mrs. Bearlike approve of your game?" And speaking of which, I mean, we asked a lot of questions to you, but maybe if you can give us a little bit more information about Mrs. Bearlike's involvement in the game as well.
She definitely approves the game. But she's not the she's a gamer, but but she likes narrative games more. So she's always advocate she's always a champion for more law to Mechabellum, all that stuff, and he do plays a lot of Mechabellum, and she's she's been here at the start, like he's the third people joining the company. So it's originally it's just one and my one. It's just me and one of my old colleague started the company. Then my wife, who's originally working at a bank, quit her job, joined the company because I was begging her to join because there's so much stuff involving a company that I just cannot deal with all of them. I desperately need her um, needs her to help need her to help me, and she also studies movies back in the college days, so she's be responsible for all the trailers and all that stuff. That's all the trailers on Bilibili and all kind of is. He edited the videos, trailers, all that stuff, and she's actually pretty good at that. Nowadays, she's doing lots of different work in my studio, so in our studio, and yeah, she likes the game, but she wish there's more story in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that is something. Right now, it's left with the imaginations of the player, but
Yeah.
having some ground rules would be really nice. So, for example, is this all robots and no humans? Are we still on planet Earth? Right? These are the basic questions because I'm sure once you lay the ground rules, there will be all kinds of fan fictions from the
Yeah,
community.
we do have some ground rules, but some of them are spoilers. So I just give you a little bit spoiler. Some
Okay, spoiler alert.
non-Mac unit, yes, spoilers. Some non Mac unit is coming after season 3. Like in season 4, there's some unit that you will not consider Mac coming into the game. So I'm not gonna tell you what those are, but it thematically it will feel like it's still a Mechabellum unit, but yeah, it's not gonna. You can see it's not a Mac. So yeah. So some ground
Whoa.
rules probably is spoiler, but we
Oh,
will
we got
gradually reveal
spoiler.
those to you guys. Yeah.
At the very least, we know is we're not living in the Matrix where everything is a big robot. So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Chat, do what you will with this. we'll find out. we'll come up with stories. Okay. Next question from Mortis. He asks, are there any new techs on the horizon with existing units? So not the new units, but are there any new techs? I think you're saying like Rhino is being reworked and Hacker is being reworked, and I wonder if there's anything specific that you can tell us.
Yeah, we have, well, not for this season, and then probably not for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's lots of other stuff we are working on, but we would be happy to add new tech to existing unit, and we plan to add new tech to the existing units. But we need to, like, when we have kind of slowed down of the addition of new unit, we will then focus on adding new tech to the existing unit. Right now, the pace of adding new unit is draining all our resource right now, and so yeah.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, this is such an active development cycle. We're getting so many new things just since September. Really, I mean, this is the game. It feels very different than what it was in September with the air powers and all of that. So thank you. Mortis also asked another question. For those of us that wants to buy all the skins in the game, right now we can only buy 3 of them at a weekly rotation. Is there, because I would love to, so personally I like to get all my army with the golden shiny gilded skin, but I have to wait on rotation, or I have to wait in the in-store. Is there a way that we can buy all of them at the same time?
Yeah, not right now. We are being focusing on adding all that stuff, but well, I do like money, so I will try to find ways to earn your money.
We'll take your money if you have them.
Yeah. So we will improve the purchasing experience of the game in the future. But right now, I still want to focus on the gameplay for a while. Once everything kind of settled down, and we are not adding new units into the game like crazy, and we will try to improve the skin experience.
Sweet. And for those of you that wants to collect the gilded skin right now, you can always purchase the in-game credit and then just keep hitting the refresh button until you hit the skin that you want, and you can buy that.
Yeah.
I got 2 more questions, and the first question is from Reddit from Gopherlad, and he is asking about the hide player names. He said he's psyching himself out if he knows which player he's actually playing, and right now, even with the scramble of the player name, he can still guess what player that is, and he wonder if it's possible just to fully scramble the name so that he will have no idea who this person is.
Okay, I've never heard anything like this from the player base before. Okay, so that's why did he he just do not want to say the enemy okay, I guess this okay, I never heard some requests like this before.
And anxiety is performance anxiety. It's the same reason why some people play with the MMR turned off, because they don't want to know. They don't want any preconceived notions of their opponent.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this I have never considered this before, but this is on my radar, and I will look into it. I guess yeah, okay, I will look into it of what this is and how strongly this kind of need are. But I kind of understand it. Yeah. Also, there are people who are asking that hide their own name in FIFA because they do not want to get ganged up on by other players. That's request I have heard before, but I never heard this request. But yeah, now it wasn't a consideration before, but now it's on my mind. I will consider it.
And then the next question is more of a fun idea for the future. So right now, 2v2 with the tournament, a lot of players are going to be experiencing some of the differences in 2v2, namely the map structure. So in siege mode, the map structure feels very different than your standard mode. So the question was, would there be any considerations for 1v1 maps? So right now, 1v1 maps is super balanced, right? You got 4 corners with the towers, and then everybody kind of move in there. Would there be any consideration in the future? For example, instead of having 4 towers on left and right, and it's like a big square, it could be a more of a rectangle. You have the tower that are closer, and then the tower that are further away, right? It's like a long rectangle, and an army can move this way.
Actually, yes, we have been experimenting with a level editor, and so the FIFA map was edited in a level editor, and originally this was for game mode like FIFA or the survival mode. We want to like make a map that can have a little bit of story in it, so it will not look like exactly like the 1v1 map in the survival mode or the other PvE mode that we are experimenting. But during this experiment, we actually found out that maybe for PvP games, a map that with a strange shape can have values too. So I'm not ruling out this kind of map in the future. But I think we will experiment this kind of map in the PvE mode we are experimenting first. Then we will try to make them into the PvP maps.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today, Bearlike. It's been a very exciting couple days. I know you are working very hard with the team right now, post the 1.3 patch. So I want to thank you for all the work that you do. Is there anything before we end here? Is there anything you'd like to say to the community?
I think the new patch it changed the game a lot. I think some players are having pretty strong opinion, especially regarding the four-player brawl mode. And what I would like to say to you guys is that we are always want to rebalancing and improve the experience in game experience for you guys, and more changes and patch is coming. And yeah, just be patient with us. We will improve it over time.
Well, thank you very much, Bearlike, for everything that you do for this game. And with that, we conclude the episode 5 of the Engine Room Chat. And as always, if you have any suggestions on the format or new ideas, or if you're just doing something fun for the Mechabellum community, shoot me a message on Discord, on YouTube. And I want to thank you all for watching. And I'm going to start a raid to Pentuman, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Take it easy, guys.